If it's just a thought, by now you wouldn't be able to think it.
Namaste, this is Rishikeshwritings, and today our guest is Shakti Durga. She came from Australia. She's a spiritual teacher, a healer, and let's know about her journey to how she came into the field of spirituality and the healing. Namaste.
Namaste. Nice to be with you.
Nice to meet you here. Shakti ji, you was a barrister,
Yeah.
and then come into the journey of healing and spirituality.
Yes, I did.
How this transformation come into your life?
Well, like most people, through difficult things happening. So I got divorced, and at the time I had a 2-year-old daughter, and yeah, just found it very stressful, and work was stressful because it's a stressful job, and then looking after a 2-year-old and just feeling very sad, about divorce and all that sort of thing. And just with all the chaos going on, I started to meditate. And then meditation changed everything. And then I did some personal development work, and that created more changes. And then I got sick. I had bronchitis, which lasted for 6 months. And I couldn't get well, and I was using all the Western medicines and nothing was happening. And so then someone said, go and see an energy healer. And I didn't believe in energy healing, but I thought, oh well, it's an hour of my time and $100, I'm just going to go and do it. So I did, and it was instant. The healing on my lungs was profound, and I realized how much trapped emotion I was unaware of that was sitting in my lungs, creating bronchitis and chronic bronchitis. And it was a turning point for me in terms of how I saw the world and myself and reality. And I just knew that I needed to pursue it. And so then I studied wide and I studied deep about healing, spirituality, all kinds of things. Whatever I could come across, I just studied. And at the same time, I was still practicing law. But all of my discretionary time, when I wasn't working or looking after my daughter, everything was about meditation and learning. And so it was a deep immersion. And then over time, I just slowed down the amount of law I was doing and ramped up the amount of spiritual work and healing and teaching. By then I was teaching various subjects, including meditation. And this was all happening in the 1990s. And so then by the year about 2000, I stopped my law practice. And by the end of the beginning of 2001, everything was let go, released, and I was then full-time as a spiritual teacher and healer.
So divorce is a Thanksgiving day for you, which helps you to transform into the helper or a messenger of the universe?
Well, it was the foundation. So all of that, without all of that, I wouldn't have been able to appreciate Ma Durga and all the gifts that have come as I've sort of opened into the Vedic way of looking at things. And all of that happened after I stopped being a lawyer. So from the early 2000s onwards, I was just coming across teacher after teacher who were explaining and showing me and awakening me to the vast richness of Vedic and I suppose Puranic wisdom. And so I've been immersing myself in that ever since. And of course, like everybody else, my journey's been enriched enormously by Guru. And so I've had some profound experiences as a disciple. And I think that as a disciple, that's where all the graces come from. That's where the real Shaktis come from, and the empowerment and the real power to help others comes from that grace of trying to merge with Hanuman and be a disciple. So that's been my journey. Yeah.
So everybody have some teacher or a guru. So if you don't mind, would you like to share about your guru name? Like in India, like when we started the spiritual journey, so when in a small childhood days, someone come in the home, or you interact with some kind of sadhana or satsang period. There you met the person who gave you the mantra.
Yes.
We called it a mantra, but in English term we added a 1A more, so it can understand the sound of the language.
Yes.
So the people come and give a diksha or a mantra, so which they keep it sacred. They chant it, and while they chanted, the energy expands.
Yes.
This created a good pathway to that particular human being.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for me, the first guru was the person who taught me energy healing, and he was more of a Taoist Buddhist flavour. And so I learned a lot about the subtle body and the spirit and the chakra system and how to utilise these things for healing. I worked with a shaman who specialised in crystal work, and he helped me a lot with understanding the inner world and all the different types of life forms. And that's when I discovered clairvoyance, something else I didn't believe in. And I found myself being able to perceive what's happening on the inner world. And since that time, I've helped a lot of other people also expand their consciousness and be aware of the inner world. After that came Sri Jayanara, who's a wonderful Balinese Kashmiri Shaivite guru, and we studied with him for a few years, and I received Guru Diksha from him. And then I met two incredible masters, Yogiraj Amajoti, and he's a Himalayan master who is in the lineage of Lord Babaji, the eternal Babaji. And
the Kriya Yoga lineage.
Yes, yes. So he's not someone who needs any spiritual practice because he's realised, you know, and he's also someone who understands that every lineage has its own beauty, and that rather than trying to foist a lineage onto people, he sees what arises within people and encourages them in that. So Kriya Yoga, yes, and of course he knows Kriya Yoga, but he's so far, there's also a lot of other offerings from Yogi Raj that are more telepathically obtained, and just the sheer bliss and beauty of his energy, you know, that's just been extraordinary for us for the last 12 years. I've also studied extensively with Sri Shakti Amma, who built the Golden Temple down in Vellore and has a beautiful ashram there, and learned a lot about mantra and puja and yantra from Amma. And between the two masters over the last 12 years, there's been times where it's been deep with Yogi Raj, other times deep with Amma. And yeah, it's just been a time of incredible growth really, and transformation and illumination. And then I just try and help others with what I've learned. You know, you just sort of offer what you can to help people find their path. Yeah.
Finding them upliftment?
Yes, yes. So some of the pathways are very much, this is the way and it has to be like this, and it's very rigid. And then others are more of the feminine way, which is let's weave into our path all of the things that are relevant to this particular individual in this place in history, in this family dynamic, in this social setting, in this caste system, in this whatever it is you find yourself, so that there's a bit more creativity in the way that the path unfolds, but it still very much rests for me on meditation, mantra, and also just listening. So for me, I've practiced for a long time now just deeply listening to the earth and to all of the powers in the earth. And so we know about Bhudevi, we know about Ganga, we know about Agni, all these other powers that are part of the physical world. And so somehow or other from Parameshwari, and I think from Yogi Raj, there's been a lot of listening, and listening to the sun and listening to what the air is telling you, very shamanic in a way, and then bringing forth meditations and practices that lift people immediately into a state of bliss. And so we do a lot of very dynamic practices, and it's followed up by, between times, the students have certain mantras to do.
So like we have from Amma, what you learned basically, like we Das Mahavidya, we have it 10 different forms of the Devi.
Yes.
And there is a saying the spiritual teachers or seekers says in only one lifetime you can do a sadhana of one Devi. Like, so what is your favorite Devi you love to be with her?
Yeah, well, Durga Kali Parameshwari is home base.
Yeah.
But she's introduced me to Lord Shiva, so you can't have Kali without Shiva. And then as soon as you get Kali and Shiva, you get Lord Ganesha. And so that all feels like home to me. And then also learning about Saraswati, who sort of has been very present, you know, in a lot of the unfolding of the teachings, as well as Narayani, Lakshmi, and Lord Vishnu. And at this time, there's just more of the Vishnu flavour coming through our school. But home base is Durga for sure. But it is interesting that if I'm in a Shaivite environment, then that's what I hear is Shiva. If I'm in a Krishna environment, then I hear Krishna. And so what we do is we weave the prevailing dominant divine voice and quality into the experience of now, in oneness with Durga, and in oneness with Guru. But it doesn't seem to be that the Devas are as separate as we think they are. And I've never found any objection from any of them. In fact, sometimes they introduce me to another. So for instance, Surya or Saraswati or Gayatri. We do a lot of work with Gayatri mantra, for instance. So it
the goddess of wisdom.
Yes, yes. So it's been a very rich path, and combined with that has also been some study in the Kabbalistic system, and also my family of origin were Christian. So there's Christian elements, there's Kabbalistic elements, and then there's this enormity of the Vedic wisdom. So what I see is that all the different traditions have got a piece of the puzzle, and that if we have respect and we're open to hearing and listening, then whilst we have our own path, we can enrich our path by weaving in bits and pieces from other paths as well, because it works to bring people to a fast path of self-realization. And really what we're after is realizing neti, you know, we're after the realization that there's only the one, and the one is bliss, and the one is love, and everything else is just forms of the one. And so for me, it doesn't really matter which of the forms one utilizes, it's going to get you to the same neti. And so that's what we do. And so, for instance, we celebrate Navaratri, of course, but also Shivaratri, and also Easter in the Christian calendar, and Pentecost, which is a celebration of the Holy Spirit, which is Shakti. So yeah, we bring in lots of flavours, and it kind of slices people that way and dices them this way, and all of the delusion, all the Maya starts falling away, and it's very effective. Yeah.
So whenever the student or seeker visit to you, they come from like the Christian background in a hardcore way, then how they understand the concept of the Sanatan, a universal culture? Like how difficult for them to starting to accept this? Yeah, I
think you'd find that really hardcore Christians would never come near me.
Yeah,
because I'm called Shakti Durga to start with.
Yeah, because I read it somewhere like this is like Hindus worship for like blood drinking god and goddesses. Yeah. This is.
I think
how do you encounter them? Means like we are not worshipping the blood drinking god and goddesses, but we are worshipping the energy of the universe.
Of course, and I know that, and you know that. But there are people of every faith who wish to belittle people of other faith. Yeah. So I just think, namaste, if that's your path, get on with it then. But I'm not going to hang out in that place. So the people who come to me from a Christian background do so because they're open. And they're wanting to enrich their Christianity by seeing the divine through a new lens that can help them expand the way they see the Christ. Yeah. And Christ is a very beautiful part of my life, you know. The Christ consciousness is, to me, much the same as Krishna consciousness, much the same as Lakshmi, that golden energy, you know. And so if you can get people to understand that the divine is much bigger than any of us, it's bigger than any of the religions that lead to. A lot of the people that come to me don't really have any path at all. And they find us maybe because they're not well, or because they have relationship issues, or because they just feel lost and empty and they're looking for a way forward.
They want to restart their life.
They want to restart. They want a fresh start. And so they come to Shanti Mission, which is the organisation I started in the early 2000s.
And what exactly this organization do?
Well, Shanti Mission has a lot of different limbs, but the idea of all of the different projects we have is that people find peace, and that the peace is on the inside. The mission is to find it.
So this is an organization of abundance hospice. You come, heal, and let's restart your journey.
Yes, that's right. So you come and heal, and for me, healing does not just mean the physical body. For me, healing encompasses the mind, the emotions, the spirit, even your soul, being moved to a higher level of more Shakti, more light, and more capacity for kindness and for love and for being a really good human while you're here on this earth, at the same time as opening to the vastness of the divine. So Shanti Mission has programs, seminars, healing modalities, charitable projects, and a mystery school for those who really want to apply themselves to self-realization. And so that's what the mystery school is, a safe place for people to be able to speak about quite mystical things and esoteric things.
Like the school providing a genuine space where they can share the heart and mind process.
Yes, and know that they're safe and they're not going to be judged. So we are open to people of different faiths, different religions, sexual preferences. You know, we feel that human beings are all here to have a unique journey. And we want to enhance that journey for people and help them find love. But anyone who's been in love knows that you can be in love and still there's no peace. Because I think peace is a higher vibration than love, even though love is amazing.
Yeah, you being in sadhana since long time.
Yeah.
What is your one spiritual story which you can't imagine it can be possible, but it's possible in your life?
Wow, there's been a lot of those things. I guess one of my early experiences involved having some healing with a shaman, with the crystal shaman, and he gave me an energy healing, and as he did that I saw lights flashing with my eyes closed. I could see, I thought he had a torch and was turning it on and off, and when I asked him at the end of the session, he said, "No, I don't have a torch." Oh, he said, "That was coming out of my hand." So that was quite shocking. And then when we did the crystal journey, we did some clearing, and then he guided me into a state which I now would understand to be samadhi. But the state involved feeling that my body was the entire universe, that the world and the trees and the people and everything was just self. And this experience was so blissful and so powerful that it felt like the bliss was so strong that it could only be likened to an orgasmic level of bliss, ananda, you know. And I thought I was going to die. In fact, I thought I was dying because it was so powerful. But then it changed me completely. And that's when I knew I was going to have a healing center and help people find their light.
And you are in Rishikesh, India. And what's the importance of this city in your life pathway and the Ganga in your life?
Thank you. Well, I've been to Rishikesh many times. I started coming here in, I think, 2009 or 10. And I've always been fascinated by Mother Ganga, the relationship between Ganga and Shiva. We do a lot of Shiva practices, and we call on Ganga even though we're on the other side of the world. And for me, Ganga represents the pouring down of the divine essence into creation that's at a very pure and powerful level. And so I don't see Ganga only as a river. I see Ganga as part of the divine that we can connect with anywhere. But when we're here, it's particularly strong. So coming here feels like a pilgrimage to honour that which is helping us to lift and shift in our lives. And I always enjoy doing arati with the river and making the offerings of the flowers and the candles. It always feels so incredible. And I guess Ma Ganga for me is a bit of a magnet that I just love the Ganga, and so keep finding myself coming back to places where she is. So whether it be Varanasi or here, I do seem to be pulled here a bit.
And what message you would like to say through our medium to your the loved ones, and why they should come to India?
Well, I think that India is a place where the ancient wisdom has been kept alive, whereas it hasn't been in most other places of the world. And most of the indigenous people of the world have had their traditions destroyed by colonialization.
Yeah.
And whilst I know that India was also colonized, the faith was never diminished. It stayed strong despite a couple of 100 years of occupation.
Yeah.
And for me, I guess because I'm so connected to the earth and to the shamanic path, I see that as being endemic to Hinduism, that it is probably the only example of a fully functioning system that embodies both the masculine and the feminine in an equal way, and that has survived the tumult of the last 2,000 years. So I think it's a very special place, and I hope that everything is done to support Sanatana Dharma, and I can see also that the wonders of the spiritual life of India, all that can happen really is that, like a big wave, that energy is going to go to the rest of the world. It has to. This is like the fountainhead of divine energy and divine teachings that really support particularly the advanced spiritual aspirant, that because there's not a lot in the worldly sense that supports someone who's really transforming. And I think that the various teachings of Hinduism are so helpful to keep you on track and ensure that you're balanced through all the different parameters and that you don't go too far off track. So I think India is a gift to the world. I think it's amazing, crazy, insane, and the best thing ever, really. You can't explain what India is like, but I have been here probably between 50 and 60 times so far in the last 20 years, and I'm sure that I will continue to visit. In fact, I'll be working a lot from an ashram in North India, in Palampur, which is Yogi Raj's ashram. So I'll probably be running a lot of programs from Palampur, but I know that it won't be the last time I come to Rishikesh either.
Well, it was nice to you be here in Rishikesh, share your thoughts and wisdom, and we wish that you will expand more and share your wisdom to the people who are really seeking the things which they deserve.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, and look after Rishikesh because it's precious. Yeah.
Well, what's your thought about the over construction and less nature in Rishikesh?
Oh, well, it's always difficult, isn't it, when you see just so much construction happening. The city seems to have doubled in size since I've last been here, and that's just been a bit overwhelming. And I think that the city of Rishikesh is going to have to really look at how it maintains the spiritual focus of the place, because otherwise I think it's going to become
a capitalism.
I think it'll be a tourist attraction. It'll be the theme park, the fun park, all of which is fine, but as long as the spirituality stays there and that there's a way to manage both needs. I see that as an issue for the future of Rishikesh, but I'm sure that with Indian ingenuity, something creative will come of it, and both of the sorts of people that come here, whether they're thrill seekers in the physical or they're thrill seekers spiritually, it's all thrill seeking. So perhaps there can be a way to accommodate all of the needs.
Namaste.
Namaste.